of our expenditures. Have any questions? Yes, Representative Berger?
Yeah, the heating was also, you know, up, or maybe it wasn't up, but it was at 56, which is very similar to what was occurring in the other place, and it's costing us $150,000 to heat the jailhouse, the jail and house corrections, which is substantial.
Yes. Do we have any?
But I will accept that someone's going to look at the how we do the heating thing, and I would assume that it would apply across the board, whatever comes out. So I'm not going to. I don't really have.
I think it's the same answer that we just had on the propane. So that what happens is the commissioners are looking. I assume that the jail is doing an awful lot. Go ahead, Representative Benson.
We raised this figure, didn't we, Frank? Somewhere around 30,000 or 40,000.
40,000, I think.
It was much lower, and so that it wasn't realistic. And I don't know whether we're going to spend 150, but it's going to be close to it. We had something like 110,000 last year.
65.
It's 30,000 from 120 to 150.
Yeah.
That's what they raised.
So we got, Chris has got the one that says it. So in 2008, heating expense was 171,000. Then in 2009, the actual was 97,000. Then in 2010, the actual was 130. They asked for, there was a
120 was the
adopted budget was 120, but we upped
from 2010. That's what the budget. The budget in 2010 was 120. The actual was 133,000, and then the new budget was budgeted for 150,000. Is what we appropriated.
Okay, so we did up there. Okay.
Yes, we did.
Yep. Okay.
So
So that we will be getting a look and see whether the commissioners choose to do a different policy when they're filling up. Okay, on the jail and house of corrections, we're at 22% of expenditures. Are we okay on that?
This goes back to the care of ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
I realize that we have a pay and repay kind of thing on that.
It's a wash.
It's a wash, but I do get concerned if our snow removal is taking 40% of our budget in the first quarter, then are we under expensing the grass mowing, and we will have snow removal in the fall as well, or in November and December. So I guess that what I'm trying to get at is that approximately 50% of the budget would be snow removal if you figure the 2 months in November and December, and then 50% covers from the summer months. And if that's what people think, then that's fine. And I would assume that that's probably true across all of the departments
that use care of ground.
Right.
Well, if you've got, or I would think that probably because you have to plow on demand. When we're mowing, you get mowed or hayed, whenever, haying twice a year, twice a season, and mowing, I don't think we do every.
I believe, Will, you can correct me, I believe the jail does a lot of the mowing themselves with inmates.
Okay.
So this is mostly snow removal and waste removal.
Snow and waste. So what happens is that the mowing, the question is, do we have adequate money in that account to cover the snow removal that is coming up? Yeah. That's the question. And also remember, we had told the commissioners that they get to shave off as much money as we wanted at $250,000. So we will see how it goes. But I assume that there's adequate removal money for care of ground.
That's fine.
Okay, all those, any other questions in the jail and house of corrections? It's 22% of the expenditure. Okay, the farm. They come to pig. How are we doing? We're at 13% of our expenditures. Do we have any questions on the farm?
I will say, we need to have a report on the pigs. They're doing great. We have 5 pigs. 3 purchased by the farm manager, 1 by Mr. Babson, 1 by Mrs. Patton, chairman of delegation. No expenses are going to the county.
When the pigs are doing good. And there is, we'll put it, Will, when is Farm Day?
July 30th is Farm Day.
July 30th?
We have some signs out, there's been some literature out. I would have more signs and more literature if anybody has any suggestions where to put some or would like to help pass out or would take help in that area.
Okay. If anybody wants to know how the farm's doing, you can come on the 30th and
Could you drop some of those off for us tonight for our meeting? I would assume that people that will attend tonight are interested in farming.
So if we can, that would be a good thing.
We'll have lots of copies to set out and pass around for this evening.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. And you're-
Also,
oh.
an excellent article in yesterday's Sunday, Sunday News, New Hampshire Sunday News.
Okay.
On the farm day. Very well done, very nice. And also having a pet show as part of for the kids from 8 to 18 to bring their pets. So lots going on. So if you haven't seen the article, I can make copies and pass them around.
That's the wonderful work of the cooperative extension that can have literature.
Okay, good enough. Representative McConkey.
Thank you. Well, I'm just wondering if you've tagged those pigs so I'd have the opportunity to come over and see Representative Babson's pig to see how it looks.
They're all mixed in.
We didn't put a B and a P on them. There, okay? So we're all right on the 15% for the farm. Okay? Now it looks like our sheriff has gotten the answer. Representative Walden.
Thank you. I just have, this really kind of a question, a request, for when we go over, next month when we're going over the midway, the half, 6 months, is it possible to show us the actual expenditure for 6 months from last year as well? We seem to get a lot of questions about, how much did we spend last year at this point? Can we expect it? Like, you see what I mean? Like if we have it's cyclical such that we're spending a lot in the first quarter, but it smooths out and we spend a little bit in the fourth quarter. Maybe if we could see last year's percentage rate and if it's also equal.
Yeah, I'll see if I can.
If that might be possible, I know.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be a little bit different because we have different accounts now, maybe a couple more. So that I'll try to do that though. I can put the two together in an Excel, I think, format.
Don't spend, I don't want you to spend a whole lot of your valuable time on that. It is, if you have it in the form already, we can get it. If we want to be able.
Well, it's interesting to see,
yeah.
anyways.
And also, if we want to, we probably can get the subcommittee to say, okay, let's try and see, or overall, what we do with the commissioner. I just want to be sure that you don't create a whole new program that takes you forever to do. Okay, and I assume that that's okay by you.
Right, exactly.
All right, that's good. Okay, so let's, yes, Representative Pettengill and then Representative, Representative Pettengill.
Farm, how many people work the farm? How many, I can't remember how many.
How many
employees
do you have in the farm?
3.5.
3.5?
3 and a part-time.
Yes, sir.
3.5, 3 and a part-time. Okay, 3 full, 1 part. Okay, because there's quite a bit of overtime posted, and I just want to make sure that the overtime is not to compensate for pig care.
No. It's mostly on haying. If they hay on a Friday, they have to come in on a Saturday to pick it up, depending on the weather.
But, like a comment, that's been the history of the farm. That's even starting to change more. Last year we added in hay wagons. I've helped reduce a lot of the overtime. I'm salary, so I'm here anyways, but reduced a lot of overtime in the hay season. So a lot of what you're seeing hitting, especially all this first quarter hitting for overtime, is all snow removal.
It's all snow removal?
That's all snow removal.
Okay,
And
good.
I would say at least 60% of the total year, I'd say close to 60 or 70% now is contributed to snow removal, and probably only 30% to 40% with haying, because we really reduced that.
Okay, good, thank you.
And cut that back.
Yes, and I'm sure that Will is very careful that we don't use money to take care of the pigs. Taxpayers' money for the pigs. Yeah. Okay, so let's, the sheriff is here. I know that there is a discussion item that we have on the checkpoints. I also want to bring a message from Representative Chandler, though he is not here today. He wanted me to make a motion, but I know that I'm not going to do that. However, seems that the checkpoint and the sobriety, however you say it, is really outside our purview as a delegation. I understand that Representative Treganza wanted to talk about it. It may be more of a presidential issue or a political issue than it is, but I think that what we'd like to do is hear from the sheriff and see what's going on, and we can go from there. So, thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. I did send a read-ahead item to you over the weekend. I'm not sure if you got it. And basically, that was the application that we made to do a sobriety checkpoint in August in Wakefield. Now, I've had a certain amount of experience with them, but I asked Chief Fifield and Chief Mulholland, who's coming on behalf of Allenstown and the Highway Safety Agency, to answer any detailed questions you might have.
Why don't we have you come on in, and there's some chairs up here, and there's a couple of chairs in here, so that you will be part of the group. Thank you very much, officer.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
So unless anybody had specific questions of me, I was going to defer questions about checkpoints to either of the chiefs, because they're very schooled on it.
Okay, do you want to do an overall for us for how they go, or where you get the, where does the money come from to do our checkpoints? And how is it set up? And then I'll give you Representative Treganza, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, we're probably talking about at this point, we're probably talking about the Wakefield checkpoint. Okay, because two of the deputies from the Sheriff's Department are going to assist Wakefield in their checkpoint. So the reason that it came to the delegation's attention more or less is because of the involvement with the Sheriff's Department. The reason that I in Wakefield allow or participate with other agencies to do the checkpoint is two. Is one, for manpower availability, and also to have a working relationship with other towns. So I use 4 people from Wakefield, and I use 2 people from the Sheriff's Department and 2 people from Ossipee. So that means that there's 8 positions that night that are funded by a highway safety grant. The highway safety grant money initially comes from federal highway safety, and it's funneled through the state highway safety, where they, on a grant process, they allot money to municipalities for various highway safety projects. One of the projects being the field sobriety checkpoints. Other projects that they fund are DWI patrols, speed enforcement patrols, community safety enforcement, equipment grants, and things like that. So through a grant from the Highway Safety Department, we did put in the application, got the grant, which allowed us to pay our people, and also allowed 2 other agencies to dovetail onto our grant. So in that process, the sheriff has to say, I'm going to pay 2 deputies for an existing grant in Wakefield, and therefore he has to come to the delegation and get the permission to do the work. So that's how the overall project gets funded. That's how it's set up with people. And I would suspect that most of your questions are, why are we doing these things? I think that's why we're here today, more as to how it's being paid for. But any questions you have, we're certainly ready to answer.